And welcome back. We are live here at the Carrabba's Italian Grill on QSportsTalk.com on camera right now on video. For those who are joining us here, you can enter into the stream chat. Again, at QSportsTalk.com. Say hi. Have any questions, comments, feel free. That's what we're here for. And, Coach, I know at the end of the year we started to do this more, and it's fun. It's a good way to interact with fans. Right out of the bat here, Coach, congrats on your 1100th win. And when is the 20-year reunion for the 03 championship team? Are you going to have something next year?
This year.
Or this
in 23.
Wow.
23. This is 23. This is the 20th year.
So it'll be something in the spring then?
Yeah, there's I forgot which game. There's going to be, there's going to be something. They're trying to bring guys back, and there'll be some different twists put on for that.
Cool. Well, that answers that question right out of the box. Steve, let's see. Did you have chicken marsala here tonight?
I usually have the pork chop marsala. I have the chicken marsala at the previous location that we had this show, but here I do get the pork chops marsala. They're good.
And really it's good. It's real good.
Caesar salad, chicken soup. It's pretty good. Very good, in fact.
In the first hour on the radio, I know you had some comments about Jake Krauthamel during the week. And when I first started doing stuff with the university with football and basketball, and I was working at a different radio station, I remember sitting next to Jake in the press box. And this is a whole different era, obviously different time, but he was smoking.
That was before that's when you could do that.
Yeah. He was the only guy doing it, but nobody cared. I mean, it was a different, it was different 80, time. Whatever like that. But he was just intense because I'd watched the game next to him, and he was focused. I mean, he was taking notes, and he was
focused on football. He loved football. He was a football player, great coach, and just gave up football to come here and be the AD. But he really was kind of like a coach. He would watch the game. He'd get his own game film, and at that time, that's when he used film. And Sunday morning, he'd go in and watch the whole game film, and then he'd go to football practice most days. And he never came to basketball practice. He didn't bother us at all. I don't think he ever went to a road game in basketball except for the tournament. And the home games, I think people caught him sleeping over there a couple times, but he was a football guy all the way, and that's great.
Ryan from the stream chat here, do you think the lawsuits with live players against the PGA Tour will discourage people from watching the PGA?
No, it won't discourage people from watching. They're going to watch whatever's good. And right now, the Tour is still the best competition. It's hard when you play 54 holes like the Live Tour, and they tee off in shotgun format. Everybody says they're having so much fun. Well, they are having fun. They're guaranteed they're getting money no matter what. But it's can that grow into a real tour? Play 72 holes. I think the majors are going to want the live players. I mean, even if there's no point system, if they don't let them get points, you can't have a major and you don't have, they could have 10 or 15. They have Cameron Smith, one of the best, Dustin Johnson still. It's hard to have a legitimate major and you don't have 8 or 10 of the best players in the world that are not allowed to play in it. So I think the majors will put pressure to let those guys play, whatever the system is, whatever the points or whatever. And once those guys can play in the 4 majors, they'll be happy playing on a live tour. But, how do you resolve this? I think it's a very difficult thing to resolve. Live Tour is going to have to get a major contract with somebody, Fox or somebody, and then they're going to have to get young guys because they've got some veterans, but the key would be to get up-and-coming young guys. Now they could have, of the top 100 players, they may have 30 or 40 of them someday. So now what do? You got to make some kind of arrangement. There was a European tour and a PGA tour, Asian tour. So they're here. If they didn't have unlimited money, they would never make it. But they do. And as long as that unlimited money stays there, they'll get enough players that they'll have a viable tour. And I think that the world, that's now a world game, can have 2 tours. Might hurt a couple of little tours, European tour or the Asian tour. They may get hurt, but there's so many good young players coming out. You could take 10 from the Corn Ferry Tour, and in a couple of years, Scheffler and those guys, they were on the Corn Ferry Tour. They're winning on the PGA Tour. These guys are good. They're not coming out there now and they can't win for 2 or 3 years. No, they can win. They're good. They're really good. And so, I mean, I think someday, as long as they have that money for the next 4 or 5 years, I think eventually there'll have to be some kind of 2 tours. Everybody, will get to play in the major. All the best players will get to play in the 4 majors. And the PGA Tour is still going to be really good, really strong. But the Live Tour will be fine. Will be a legitimate tour someday.
It's a follow-up question on that topic. Do you have a winner of the match? That's Tiger and Rory versus Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Tiger just doesn't play enough. You got to go with the 2 guys that play all the time against one guy that plays all the time and one guy that doesn't play much. So, but if Tiger's healthy, they'll be fine. It'll be a heck of. I think this will be one of the events that I'd like to watch the most. I think of all the funky events, because you got arguably, if Tiger is healthy, you got the best player in the world. You got 2 guys that are probably in the top 20, and then Tiger. So should be a great event, and I look forward to seeing it.
Kyle, who is visiting from Carthage, what Big East team do you miss playing the most?
Well, we play Georgetown, so that's a rival game. But, I always like to play Villanova and St. John's. Those were all good games. Connecticut. We had a lot of rivalries that were built up over the years because you played everybody twice. You get in the new league, you're in the ACC, but you don't play everybody twice. So it's a little different and not quite the same. But it's a really good basketball league, and it's, a place you have to have for football. You have to be one of the Big 5 leagues, and so it's been a good transition. And they were both great basketball leagues.
From a Cuse dude, he says, "Hi, Coach. Thanks for doing this. Is there a team in the NCAA that you believe is best suited to win a title at this moment?" I know it's early. He says,
it's really early. It's kind of hard. I mean, I think Gonzaga is going to be right back there again. I think Baylor's really good. Their guards, veteran guards. I think early they look good. North Carolina has brought everybody back, so they're definitely a major threat. And then I think there's going to be somebody pops up someplace, whether it's a Texas or it could be a Kansas again. I mean, there's the beauty of college basketball. There's a bunch of teams that could make a run and be Final Four teams. There's probably 30 or 40 teams out there that could do that. And it'll be interesting to see. College basketball is great because there's so many good teams, and it's very, very, very difficult to be a dominant team like you can be in football. And even football's getting more balanced now. It'll be very hard to pick the football playoff this year, especially if a couple teams get upset at the top. There's going to be 2 or 3, 4 teams with 1 or 2 losses that everybody's going to go, they should be in there.
Well, what year is it that it does expand?
I think they still can't figure it out. They've got contracts through 25 or something, but they're trying to change it. But it's just if you can change it with all the different kinds of contracts. They'll wish this year they had 12 teams. They'll wish they had 12 teams this year when it comes down at the end of the year, because there's going to be some teams that are upset that get left out for sure.
Question from Steve. Is there a secret to getting players to stay like North Carolina?
Yeah, they paid them. They gave them big NIL deals because they weren't going to get drafted. All the 4 guys were going to be maybe not picked or second round at best. And so they capitalize. They got a lot of NIL money. Just much better to just stay in college for all of them. And that's the one advantage that's good. One thing that's good about the NIL is that you can retain a good, really good player, but he's not a first-round pick. You stay in college and get, pick up quite a bit of NIL money, and, it'll make college basketball a little bit stronger at the top. This year, North Carolina's number one, and if they lost those 4 guys, they'd be, they wouldn't be in the top 40. So it makes a big difference.
Question here from Nate. Can you tell us what you thought of playing hoops on the aircraft carrier, and would you do that again?
It was a beautiful day, one of the prettiest days I've ever seen. And to be outside and the beauty of it was incredible. But you couldn't make a shot outside. We made a 3 early, and then the wind started blowing, and we just started driving and got to the foul line. But you couldn't make foul shots either, but we made layups. And I think they made 1 or 25 threes or something against our zone, or 2 maybe. But you couldn't shoot. It's probably got up to 10 or 12 miles an hour. That you could see the ball moving in the air, right? Even on foul shots. It was virtually impossible. The only thing you could really make was a layup, and we got to the basket and made some layups. But it was such a beautiful day. It was perfectly clear sky and everything. But the wind's going to blow in those coasts there, on the coast there. But if it hadn't been windy, it'd been great. Been a great experience.
Follow-up question to the North Carolina question. What's the status of our NIL compared to North Carolina Duke? 'Cause I know, and we had that event a couple weeks ago, and you had such a great explanation of it, but and I wish we could have actually recorded it and played it, because it was a long answer, but it really.
Well, we're trying. I mean, to simplify it, everybody's got NIL money, so you have to have it, and there's not enough naturally, so you have to collect it, and then pass it off to the players, and they have to do charity work, stuff like that. So that's what we're working on. Everybody's working on it. There's some natural that there are some deals, and some girls that have social media are making a lot of money with a big following. They can make a lot of money on this, but the rest is through collectives, and each school's collecting money from alumni, and the money will be assigned out to players, and they'll do charity work. And it's just where we are. And it would have been nice if it just been natural. But when it's natural, a couple guys will make most of the money, and then the other guys don't make any money. And that's really not a good thing either. Football's really way out of hand. I mean, they're $1 million to quarterbacks and stuff. So it's really crazy. And basketball will get that way. It's just going to happen. People want to win, and if they can't get a recruit unless they do it, that's what they're going to do.
Question from Nate here. Did McNabb gift you a signed picture of him doing a layup versus Georgetown?
I don't think he did. Nope. He played very well against Georgetown. That was his game. He came in off the bench and went against. They were 7'6", 6'10" on their front line, and he had 11 rebounds and 6 or 8 points, and really won the game for us coming out. He played forward. He got so big, when he was a freshman, he was a pretty good guard, but he just lifted and got so big to play football, obviously, and he lost that guard skills, but he was a ferocious rebounder. He had a great game against them. He really did.
Going back to the aircraft carrier, was there a plan B in case it rained that day?
Well, we didn't. I think we postponed it a day or a week, or no, maybe a couple days because of the weather. But we figured it was clear, so we were lucky there. I don't think we had a plan B, to tell you the truth. We probably would have just canceled the game. We almost should have probably canceled it anyway, because it really was an indication of who the best team was. It was just, we got ahead early, and nobody could make anything after that. We kind of kept the lead.
Did you watch the World Series at all, Coach?
Oh, yeah. I like baseball. I watch it during the year, but I thought that Houston was the best team, and then Phillies kind of showed a little life there, but at the end of the day, Houston, the pitching is critical in those series games, and they just had a little better pitching, and they had a lot of good players, really veteran players too. So it was a good win.
I thought the just storyline with Dusty Baker finally getting a World Series win was a great. They got extended by a year today. I saw that.
Well, it's hard to fire him or make him retire if he won the World Series. So that was good. Give him another year, and that's good. They'll be good next year. They have a good organization. I think they've got a lot of those guys signed too.
Let me see here. What do you think would be the result if you and Dino switched teams in each other for just one ACC game?
Well, I can't coach football. I can tell you that for sure. So it wouldn't do much good. I'd like to watch football, but like everybody else around here, I don't know anything about coaching, even though people try to coach Dino's team. And it's funny, I love Sean Tucker, but when there's like 9 guys sitting there waiting for him, I mean, how can you run him? You're going to get the kid hurt. You have to try to go someplace else because, you just can't run into that kind of a defense. It's crazy. It's like in basketball, if there's 5 guys standing around the center, you got to shoot from outside. You just can't
go in there.
You can't go in there. You can't run when they're like that. And but everybody's got the answers.
Do you follow NHL? If you do, who's your NHL team?
I watched hockey.
When
I went
kids
to
were
a
younger.
couple. The kids liked it. I like to watch hockey on TV. I'm not that big a fan that I go to the games, but most games I'd rather watch on television. There's a very few, that I would rather be at the game. Like I like lacrosse. I like to be at the game. I think you can see more when you're there. It's a great game to watch, but I kind of like sitting home watching games on television.
True.
Not a good fan, I guess.
In Houston, going back to the World Series, Mattress Matt.
Oh yeah, he won. Finally won.
Have you ever met that guy? Just in any event or?
No, I've never met him. He's a character. I'm sure that I don't know. I'm sure his business does great because of all these. Even when he loses,
he still wins.
He finds a way. He wins probably. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy that he's certainly gained a lot of attention for himself.
Question here: out of all of the players that you ever coached, Olympics included, who's the player with the best basketball mind?
Well, that's a good question. I'll tell you, LeBron has. I had him when he was younger, and I saw his development, and really understands the game of basketball, both ends, the defensive end and the offensive end. He really has a good understanding of it. But those guys, you don't even have to tell them. They play 100 games a year, and after 5 or 6 years, as a coach, they know if they make a mistake, and you really don't have to almost tell them anything. Guys like Steph Curry and those guys. I mean, you don't coach those guys. You just try to get them in position and let them play, let them do what they can do. But LeBron is a really, 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 really smart player. He knows where everybody is, what they're doing, and the guy's still playing at a really high level. After a million games, he's played 1 million games. I mean, he plays to the championship most years and Olympics, World, all that stuff. And he just is. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, he's lost a step or two, but he's still, he's one of the 10 best players in the league anyway. If not better than that right now. I mean, he just. But it shows you too. It's the people around you. You got to have people around you that can play. They don't have the people around them right now, but they made a good move putting Russell Westbrook in the second team. I think he's averaging 20 points a game in about 15 minutes or 16 minutes a game since they put him in the second team. Just let him go. Let Russ go. When he's out there with LeBron, there's just no room with him and Anthony Davis out there. So go with the second group and just go. He can still get to the basket with the best of them.
Did McNabb play because Etan fouled out in 4 minutes?
I don't know if it was 4 minutes, but we did have foul trouble in that game. I do remember that, but he was good. He really was good. He went against Georgetown was huge. I mean, you're talking about 7-footers, 300 pounds. They had to take one of their bigger guys out to put a smaller guy in on Donovan because they couldn't deal with him. He was just going right by him and powering in. It was really a good game. He played a really, really good game. I mean, they had a kid named Allen Iverson too in the backcourt. So
not a bad.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad team.
Nate wants to know: do you speak with Jason Hart?
Oh yeah, we see Jason a lot. He's coaching the elite team, Ignite team, whatever it is, and he's really done well. I think he'll be a head coach in the NBA someday. He might be an assistant first for somebody, but I think he'll be a head coach someday in the NBA. He's got a good feel for the game. He's really good with people. Unbelievable, great kid. I mean, he's just a great kid.
See, when does Carmelo Anthony get picked up, and where does he go?
I thought he would be picked up. I'm shocked. He's in great shape. I know he works out every day. Some teams are just going younger, and I think he's just got the really good teams that want to change things. I thought the Celtics might pick him up at one time, even the Nets. He can still score. He proved the last 3 years he gets 12 points, 14 points, and shoots a high percentage and helps your team. But I thought he'd be picked up by now. I'm a little surprised.
And last but not least here, Coach, have you had a chance to actually see Buddy or Jimmy play?
Yeah, I get to stream the games from Greece, and his team just moved up to the top division, so they're young. They're going to struggle a little bit. Buddy's played on the G League team, and they're struggling. But he may go up a little bit, but he's getting better. He's working hard. He's with the big team for a month or so in the preseason stuff. But they're both doing well.
Coach, thanks. We will see you back here next week. Absolutely. On QSportsTalk.com. And thanks everybody for joining us here and the questions and comments. And we'll talk to you soon on the radio in the morning as well. All right. See you next week, Coach.